Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another YouTube video. So today, obviously, is an exciting day. Bitcoin is at $121,000 at the time of recording. We've seen this squeeze. We've been talking about this. We're going to talk about Total 2 breaching all-time highs. We're also going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about the Doge trade. We're going to talk about ETH. We're going to talk about what I think comes next in the market generally. But we said when we start to close with 119k that it's going to be quite an aggressive move because there's all the liquidity here from above these recent swing highs, basically, and that's all built up. And we've started to take that liquidity this morning, which is fantastic to see. We're now pretty much touching all-time highs. Obviously, we're still within like a Wix distance from all-time highs. We were about 0.65% away. Whether Bitcoin has to do something like this before we go to all-time highs or not, retest that and then go, I don't know. If we go to the daily time frame, this is why I've been saying to you guys for the last couple of weeks or so, I really just don't know where price action goes in the short term. I've told you the trades that I'm in. So as much as I didn't know what was going to happen in the short term, I still told you the positions that I'm in. We've been in spot, and this is why back in January, February, March, April, even into May, I was screaming to buy because the risk to reward was so good. Now we're up at these price levels. The risk to reward is less good because we've already made that price appreciation. So that is extra risk for less reward, because the risk now is starting to be towards the downside. And it's not towards the downside yet, but mid push, which is essentially what we are, like in this range, great. There's big risk to reward because I thought we were going up here. But now we're in this range. What's the reward for Bitcoin? Like another 10%, 20%, 30% if we get all the way up to like 140, which is quite a big ask on an impulse at this size market cap and at this stage in the market. It's not impossible. I think it's quite possible that we do that, but the risk to reward is still not favorable to be looking at that. That's why we're looking at altcoins specifically. But also in alts, it's the same because we do kind of track Bitcoin even in the scenario that we're in now where Bitcoin dominance is starting to lose strength. In the micro transactions, like when Bitcoin still pulls back, if it has a deep pullback, alts will still go with it. So there's still danger in the alts for that reason. But looking at Bitcoin on the daily time frame, what we can see is above us, we still have this key liquidity up to about $126,000. We haven't squeezed into that yet. What we've done actually is just pushed into the $122,000 region. I do think now we're having this daily push up here, unless we reject the daily today. This is obviously going to be the highest daily close for Bitcoin historically. Obviously, still got ages of the day left. We've still got 13 hours of the day left. You might have just seen a preview to what I'm going to talk about next. 13 hours still to change things, whether it's positive or negative, because we could start to squeeze up into this area today. When the US markets open in about 3 hours, we'll get some more information about what the day is going to be like. But if we finish the day in and around where we are now, it'll be the highest ever daily close. And for me, then it'll be impending that we probably push into this liquidity. And when we push into these deep areas of liquidity, as you can see, we do seem to have quite a strong push. So even if we relate this to the push from about 109k up to 123, what we saw is quite a few days of solid green price action. So if we get that for Bitcoin, that would be fantastic, because what I think it would lead to is even more explosive moves in things like Ethereum and XRP. Now, we've talked about this potential Elliott wave theory here. ETH has taken the majority of its liquidity in the deep red section that we talked about. We wrote about in the newsletter. In fact, I published about this. I'll show you back on April the 26th, I think it was. We published... Yeah, April the 26th, when we were at $1,700 on the weekly insight, absolutely for free. All my newsletters are free, so if you don't subscribe to them and you missed this, then that's on you. On the 26th of April, ETH was at $1,777. I said, look, we're heading to at least $4,400 for ETH. Pretty much said it's going to happen in the short term. I did say that I was more likely to be investing in ETH ecosystem plays like ENA that's done more than the 100 and something percent to the upside. ANA is like 200% plus from where we got into the position. So what I'm basically saying here is ETH could and probably does still have some upside left. There's still liquidity starting to build above us and continuing to build above us. And I do think we are in the fifth wave for ETH coming off the lows. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. But time will tell if I'm right on that, and maybe that tops out around 5,000. We pull back to around 4 and then continue higher. We maybe could wick the all-time highs there if we get up to about 5,000. That's what I'm looking at there for ETH. ETH being the leader of altcoins does give us a suggestion as to what. I just clicked Doge. I meant to click XRP then. I'm going to get onto Doge in a minute. It does give us an indication as to what Bitcoin dominance is going to do, because it's the biggest attributor to Bitcoin dominance, because being the largest altcoin, obviously it takes the most market cap. Now, looking at it takes the most market cap away from Bitcoin if it starts to increase in price. Now, looking at XRP, what we've got is significant liquidity above us at about $4.15 all the way up to about $4.30. If we start this move and continue this depreciation in Bitcoin dominance that we're going to get into in a second, I think XRP continues all the way up there and we start to see some aggressive moves coming out of XRP. What we can see here is when we have this red liquidity and we start to enter those zones, the move does get parabolic, the same as if we look back here. This is what we see. This is exciting sort of parabolic moves is what I think we're going to see next. I've been saying I think that's coming. Right now, it's taken about 300 days, 270 odd days to be consolidating in this period. 250 days we've been consolidating here. I do think that that is significant strength for us to see this next parabolic advance for XRP. That I do think takes us between anywhere to $8 to $13 there for XRP. So the last altcoin I'm going to talk about is Doge, because we've got a trade on Doge right now. If we look at Doge on the 4 hour, what we can see is there is significant liquidity building above us on Doge. We're in a lovely position on the trade. We did enter about here, 22.5 cents. It came all the way down. We're currently bouncing, but still, again, watching for what might happen with Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin specifically. Is Bitcoin going to push and take liquidity? Is Bitcoin going to chop down? This is what we're watching for. You might say that Doge has just revisited resistance here and then is starting to consolidate again and potentially pull back, which is definitely a possibility because we have some liquidity below us. I would suggest that we're creating some sort of bull flag here, and I'm going to show you something else that's a bit more bullish for Doge right now. Then we're going to get into Bitcoin dominance to finish this video. So this is Doge against Bitcoin. I'm going to take us down to the 4 hour time frame. So if you remember the structure that we just looked at, Doge actually against the dollar rejected this high and pulled back. But if we look at Doge against Bitcoin, it actually set a higher high. Yes, it has pulled back a little bit further, but because we've closed above that resistance, I do think that that signals bullish price action for Doge against Bitcoin specifically in this scenario. I'm going to show you the Doge dollar chart just to show you this. So you see that's the high against this is the high against the dollar. We've hit into that resistance and we're consolidating at it. I think we're bull flagging to continue, but if we go back, let's see if we can go back like that. Nice. If we go back to Doge against Bitcoin, we can see we set a higher high. So that is an indication to me that Doge is looking and potentially ready to run. If we look at XRP dominance, just to finish, actually, we're going to look at total crypto market cap. We showed on the total crypto market cap that when we get into the oversold territory, it's normally a signal at the bottom. I also tweeted about this. We wrote it in the newsletter back maybe 2 weeks ago. At the time, we hadn't quite reached the oversold area on the 4 hour. What I was saying is, if we do get this pullback into the oversold area of the 4 hour RSI, then what we could see is a bottom around that time. And I wrote that before this happened, and then it happened. We got into the oversold area, we did bottom, and all the way out of this bottom, I've been saying, look, it's never a free ride. It was a double test on this occasion. It was a pullback into the area on this occasion, and this time was no different. It was a pullback, a chop, a grind, some consolidation, and a pop. Now, whether we've got some more consolidation or we just continue here, again, I'm unsure. One last thing I wanted to talk about was actually ETH and XRP leverage, essentially, before I wind up this video with some XRP dominance and XRP versus Bitcoin and ETH. We can see, even though ETH is at its local highs right now and nearly at all-time highs, we've actually bled off a little bit in open interest. This is as some longs got squeezed here and then some shorts are squeezing on the way up. I do think this will continue as we see some more short squeeze, probably at all-time highs. This is how we get explosive moves into price discovery. Similarly with XRP, I think the same sort of thing will happen. There's one thing that I wanted to really highlight here for XRP in terms of open interest, and that is that from this local high or all-time high at $3.60, if we take it from the top of the wick, we actually pulled back about 25%. I don't know if you saw that, was quite quick. We pulled back about 25%. And if we look at open interest, how much we pulled back. We actually pulled back more than 25%, which was about 36%. So we've flushed a lot of leverage even just on this move down here. And I presume, again, we will see something similar to what I've just shown you on ETH. If we start to break the 360 mark, and I've shown you the liquidity above us, it will be quite a quick advance towards 420, in my opinion. And I do think that that's the start, or maybe this is already the first wave of an impulsive move to the upside. Time will tell. Obviously, I'd like to continue to see higher highs being set, but that I could definitely see that materialize in there. So finally, I just want to look at XRP dominance and XRP Bitcoin. XRP dominance is still fighting and holding this 50% level. On the 4 hour, it looks like we could see a bullish cross again soon. We've actually seen almost a range form, sweep the lows, sweep the highs back into the range, see what happens now. But then you could argue that we've formed a low, a high, higher low, higher high, potentially another higher low here, and then continuation to the upside. Again, looking at this range, this is where I think things could get exciting for XRP if we start to break to the upside of this range. A lot of people are calling for about 14% dominance this cycle for XRP. I'm calling for around 20 at some point. I think that would be fantastic after 7 years of accumulation. I don't think that that's unreasonable. I think a lot of people are underestimating what it means to accumulate for this amount of time. I also think emotional bias towards it being exciting takes as in if people have got a vested interest, they also get emotional bias on the other side of on the other side of despair. They almost can cheat themselves out of price action. If we look at this on a completely neutral level, I don't think there's any reason why we've come to the bottom of the range, why we couldn't come to the top, especially after accumulating for this long and then potentially seeing a breakout. But as price develops, we can discuss that a little bit further. XRP Bitcoin, very, very similar scenario. We've broken through this local resistance. We've come back, we've wicked into it and held it as support. And then finally, XRP ETH is one that I want to talk about here. We do have a little bit further downside to go. Whether this is just a flush of the lows, because we could say that this is a range from here to here. We swept the highs of the range, we came back into it, we've now swept the lows, and then we maybe go from here. Similar structure to XRP dominance, but also XRP versus Bitcoin, obviously competing, or this scenario is displaying against the two largest cryptos. So it's obviously going to be similar to XRP dominance, because whatever it does against these two cryptos is quite important for the rest of the market. Again, such a long period of consolidation below. Roughly, this is rough, about 1,700 days. I do think that at least we go to highs here. Again, we've set lows. Why would we not retest highs? That's just how TA works. I think a lot of people are calling for just like a correction, or people are looking at the Fibonacci levels, like retracement levels. I understand that is a fair argument, but I do think that it's just as logical that we test range highs against both ETH probably and XRP and against Bitcoin. So that's what I'd be watching for. Other than that, guys, I haven't got too much more to share with you. The weekly insight, we deep dived into Doge and a few other things. I think things could get exciting at any point now. I mean, they already are, realistically. Bitcoin's pretty much at all-time highs. ETH is pretty much at all-time highs. XRP is close to all-time highs. So definitely keep your eye on all of these things. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comment section below, and share it with a friend. If you'd like to trade on any leverage, please try the links in my description to WEX and MEXC. I use both of those non-KYC exchanges. They're good to add to your repertoire of exchanges if you don't already have a sign up, or you haven't signed up to those accounts. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.